This video is all about rejuvenating, repotting and dividing Sansevieria. And with Sansevieria, there are lots of different species, but the particular one that we're dealing with today is Sansevieria hahnii. And this is it here, and yes, it's been neglected. You can see here that the roots are coming out the bottom of the pot. It does need repotting, and we'll take you through the whole process, dividing, repotting, potting mixes, you name it. So let's get into it. When you're dividing these plants, you need to be putting them in a pot that's a nice firm fit. They don't like to have a lot of extra root space. They like to be crowded. If you're repotting all of these plants, and there are 3 in this pot, you could put them into a pot like this. If you're going to divide them, you need to put them into smaller pots like these. And there are a number of reasons for this. 1, because they like to be crowded. 2, in pots that are too large, there's extra potting mix, which retains extra moisture, and that can cause root rot. So choose the right pot for the size of the plant that you're repotting, and if you're dividing it, use smaller pots. You could also use a plastic pot like this. These are better because they're heavier and they drain more freely. These are suitable for temporary planting while you're waiting for your divisions to establish themselves. When you're about to repot these plants, you need to stop watering them for about a week before you start. This allows the soil to dry out and it's easier to remove. Simply squeeze the pot, if it's a plastic one, gently remove the plant from the pot and tease away as much of that old potting mix as possible. With this plant, we're noticing that the potting mix is still a little bit moist, and that's because it's starting to break down. And this is a major problem with these plants. They need a potting mix that will dry out quickly, which is why we repot them, and generally every 3 to 4 years as a minimum. What we're looking for is natural divisions, and you can see with this offset, which is actually starting to put out some pups, there's a natural division through here. So what we're going to do is to try and break it apart gently, just with our fingers. If it doesn't come apart gently, then we'd use a sharp knife like this. We can also separate this plant here, and that will give us 3 plants. Each division needs to have good top growth and a good root system. This area where the break has been made is the area that's most susceptible to rot. So we need to let these divisions dry 24 hours so that the break itself dries out and it begins to callus over. You can also remove any old soft foliage, and that's a really good idea because anything that's starting to look a bit soft and soggy is where the rot's going to set in. So before we do anything else, we'll take these 3 offsets, we'll put them in a shaded position. It'll be dry, so away from any rain, and we'll let them dry for 24 hours. As for potting mix, you could use a normal succulent potting mix, and that'd be fine. Or you could use a normal potting mix with 1 part perlite to 1 part potting mix. Or you could mix up something a little bit different like this. This is biochar, 1 part. This is a succulent potting mix. It's very coarse and very open, 1 part. And this is a normal potting mix, 1 part of that. Now, to make sure that we have got adequate drainage, we're going to put in 1 part perlite. And if you wanted to, you could add some coarse grit. And we are going to put some in, just a couple of handfuls. Now, this needs to be mixed up properly, and you'll see that it's going to be a beautiful, free-draining potting mix. There'll be no problems with water retention. The normal potting mix will have a few nutrients in there, but not much. The perlite and the coarse grit provide extra drainage. The biochar is fairly free-draining as well. So that's our mix there. It's not wet, it's nice and dry, and we won't be putting any moisture into this at the moment. If you wanted to, you could use a simpler mix than this, 1 part normal potting mix to 1 part perlite. So we're back at the potting bench. These plants have been drying overnight, and if we look in here, right in there, you can see that that's dried over nicely. Because we've divided these into 3 separate plants rather than put them in a big pot like this together. And because they've got different sorts of root systems on them, so will require different watering, less watering for this one, but more for this one here. We have our division, and this is the one that has the little offsets on it. We've got a pot that's the right size. We'll start by putting some potting mix in the bottom of the pot. For this, we use a scoop. Now we're ready to sit our plant down into the pot. Remember, we're going to need to adjust the height so that it's plant sitting up at the right level. Stage. Just tapping it down a little. Firming in. Just a little bit more. Tapping down. Firming in again. And at this stage, we're going to get a little bit of horticultural grit, and we're just going to put this over the top of the soil. And this does a number of things. 1, we think it looks a bit better. 2, when you water the plant, then you don't get splashback onto the leaves. 3, the horticultural grit is fairly coarse and it helps deter fungus gnats. We'll do the other 2 in exactly the same way. Here we are with the 3 of them done, all with the horticultural grit, all with the same potting mix. These plants now need to be kept in a shaded position, certainly out of direct sun, somewhere where they're going to remain dry, and we won't be watering these plants for another 7 days. A little bit of extra time for those wounds to heal over and for the plants just to settle in to that potting mix, which is fairly dry. So these are our Sansevieria plants after 1 week. They've settled in nicely, and it's time to water them. We're going to water these with a liquid seaweed solution. We'll water them once, and you'll see that the water drains through really quickly, which is what you need with these plants. We're going to let them sit in the excess solution for around about 1 hour. Then we'll take them out, put them in a position in light shade, and we won't water them again for another week. After that, you can take up a normal watering regime, and within 4 or 5 weeks, you should start to see signs of new growth if you're doing this in summer, because that's the growth period for these plants. If you have any questions, ask them in the comments section below the video. Subscribe to the YouTube channel for regular updates on a whole range of succulents and indeed a whole range of garden plants. And as always, good luck with your gardening.